If you clicked on this video thinking, wait, I thought you can only mate with 2 knights if one makes a horrible blunder, then you're absolutely right if it comes to normal chess. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to play Hoppel-Poppel, a variant where you can force checkmate with 2 knights. The rules can be explained in one sentence. Knight captures like bishops, and bishop captures like knights. So for example, if white goes knight c3 on move 1, they are already attacking this pawn. Black does nothing, white can take and trap this rook. You might think this bishop defends, but no, remember, bishops act like bishops when making quiet moves, not when capturing. The best thing black can do is go knight f6, attacking this knight and indirectly defending this rook. So if white takes, black can take back. In this game, the knights are worth a bit more than they are in normal chess, while the bishops are worth a bit less. So losing a rook and a pawn for a knight is not the end of the world. The game goes on, but white is definitely better. Let's have a look at another example. White starts the game with e4, black responds with e5, and white goes bishop c4. White's already attacking this pawn. Black can defend in a number of ways. They can go f6, d6, c6, or c5, unleashing this knight. They can defend with the knight, not by going knight c6, because it doesn't defend. This will be a counterattack on the e4 pawn, but by going knight to f6. Let's say black pushes the pawn, defending this, and you might think, wait, you said knights are better than bishop in this game, why would we allow white to take our knight? But no, white's not threatening to take this knight, black is the one who's threatening to take. If white plays some random like king to e2, black can take. Also notice white king is in check, because knights not only capture like bishop, but they also check like bishops. Now white has 4 legal moves. They can't go here, they can't go here, because this will still be checked from this knight. They can go here, here, or here. Notice this square is not attacked by the knight. Or they can block the check with the pawn. If you're totally confused at this point, you have 2 more piece sets, which might be easier to comprehend. The one with grafted pieces, where piece at the top is how the piece captures and the one at the bottom is how it moves. And the animal piece set with snakes and kangaroos. The idea behind it being that snakes can slither straight like a bishop, but then leap like a knight at its prey, while kangaroos hop around to move like a knight, but might dive to attack like a bishop. There is one more rule to address, namely pawn promotion. If the pawn reaches the final rank, it can promote to a queen, a rook, a knight, or a bishop. Just remember the knights and the bishops are not the same as they are in normal chess. The queen has all abilities of a rook, so most of the times the reason to underpromote to a rook is to avoid stalemating your opponent. However, in this game, both the knight and the bishop have some abilities a queen doesn't have. I'm going to show you an example of a knight under promotion and the bishop under promotion. So this is the first position, white to play and find the best move. Feel free to pause the video. I already gave away it's gonna feature another promotion, but try to figure which one and why. Okay, so first things first, if white makes a queen, black just moves the king. Now white has 3 possible checks, but all of them just blunder the queen. Black's gonna make their own queen. They can harass our king. They can try force a queen trade with some sort of fork. Black is gonna win. Stockfish says it's mate in 10 for black. Let's go back. In this position, the only drawing move is to underpromote to a knight. Black moves the king. Now we have a check we didn't have before, knight to c7. Black goes back to h1. We can go knight to d5, knight to f4, knight to d5. We can keep moving our knight however we want between those 4 squares. Black doesn't have much to do. The only thing they could try is to block the check with the queen. If it's a blitz game, there is always a hope we pre-move knight to c7 and just lose the game. But if we don't, we just take the queen and keep checking, the game ends in the draw. Now let's have a look at an example of a bishop under promotion. Feel free to pause the video and try to figure it out yourself. You might have seen a similar position in standard chess, but even if you do, try to figure out if the Hoppel rule actually changed something. The idea is to sacrifice the rook, sacrifice the queen, win back the rook, win back the queen, and reach an easily winning endgame up a piece. The main difference between chess and Hoppel-Poppel is we had to make a bishop and not a knight. But this is the whole story. Is this endgame easily winning for white? Let me switch back to normal piece set. White has a pawn, a rook pawn, and the bishop. Our endgame's with the rook pawn and the bishop winning, only if you have a bishop of the same color as the queening square, right? Let's see. Okay, black tries to run their king throws to the corner. We have to get our bishop out of the way. We're gonna take the pawn and start pushing our pawn. We just proved the pawn is a stalemate, so let's use our bishop, try to control the queening square. King moves out of the way, we push the pawn, and black ignores our bishop. And they can, because it doesn't capture like a bishop, it captures like a knight. In this position, we have to either abandon our pawn or stalemate black. This is a draw. And even if we don't push our pawn in this position, again, there's nothing we can do. So is the idea of sacrificing both major pieces totally wrong and this game is just a draw? No. In this position, after white took the queen, this is a win for white, and this is still a win, and here comes the blunder. Why is this a blunder? We need the light squared bishop to win this endgame, and this bishop captures like knights, they swap color on every capture, so the only way to win is to capture this pawn with a bishop. White already played the bishop to a3 and started bringing their king closer, which probably indicates they don't know what they're doing, but by this point they realize it's not yet too late to fix it. We just need to bring our bishop to one of these 4 squares, take the pawn, get the bishop out of the way, bring our king closer, move the pawn. Now we need to get our bishop involved. We need to force the king out of the HA square, so we give a check. We move the pawn, the king can't go here because we control the square. Now if we want to show off, we can promote to a knight or a bishop, and this is still a win, but we probably don't. Let's just make a queen and checkmate in 3. This was the easy way, but actually, in this position, white has a checkmate in 3. Feel free to pause the video and try to find it. The critical move was bishop to d5, king g8 only move, h7 check. Now if white goes to the corner, bishop f7 is checkmate. Black tries to run. The bishop controls this square, so you can make a queen or a rook, and this is checkmate. So those 2 examples were composed positions. Now I'm going to show you an example of under promotion from a real game. In this position I was black, and as you see the game wasn't going very well for me. I moved my king out of the way and started pushing the pawn, hoping to promote it. And here's the critical position. I can promote, but if I make a queen, a rook, or a knight, then rook a1 is just checkmate. The only move to keep my hopes alive was to under-promote to a bishop, but this is a very short-lived hope. White goes king to f3, and I have 2 legal moves. I can either go here and get checkmated, or go here and lose my bishop. I decided to do the latter, lost my bishop, and 2 moves later just resigned the game. Okay, now back to what I promised you at the start. I'm gonna show you how to checkmate with 2 knights. First things first, just like with bishops in orthodox chess, if we get them standing side by side, they control all these squares, restricting black king to this area. So the first thing we'll try to do is get our knights to those 2 central squares. We can start by going knight to f3. Black will probably try to get their king closer to the center. We can follow up with our plan and get our first knight to the desired squared. Black keeps going. Now we encounter the first problem. If we go knight to c3, black goes king d5 and we can't bring our knight here. Let's go back. Here I'd recommend to bring the king closer. So in this position we're forcing the king to go back. Let's say it goes here, we bring our second knight. White goes here. Now we can get our knights side by side. But remember, black was only restricted if it was their king was in this area. Black can go here. So to avoid this, I would recommend first bringing our king closer, trying to force black king to the other side of this diagonal. They don't have to yet, they can follow up with king to b6, but we keep following. If black still doesn't want to cross this diagonal, the only move is king to a8. Now we can abandon our idea. Just go king b6. Black king is stuck in the corner. Black goes king to b6. We have knight to e6 controlling this square. This is the only legal move, and now it's mate in 4. Feel free to pause the video and try to find it while I give you a couple of seconds. For those of you who found it, congratulations, you are next on Hoppel-Poppel. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, The idea is to remaneuver this knight to this square so it controls those two squares and can mate with the other knight. One of the ways to do it is to go knight to e4, king b8 only legal move, knight to d6 check, king a8, knight to b7 check, king b8, and now we can mate with knight going either to f4 or c7. Let's go back. We just play king to c4. Let's say black doesn't want to get into all of the stuff I just showed and they play king to d6. Now we get what we want. The black king is locked into this area. But they can still stay on the 6th rank. To force the king even further, we need to use our king. Now black has to go back to the 7th rank. Now we can get the opposition. If we reach this position with white to move, it will be much easier. We can just go knight to d6 and black has only 3 legal moves, whichever they choose. We can get our two knights side by side in the 6th rank. Or if we prefer, we can get our king first and then the knight. Either way is gonna be a bit easier than what I'm about to show. Let's go back. In this position it's black to move and black tries to escape with king to e7. And ideally they would like to go to f6 or maybe to f7 then g6. So how can we proceed? First, we don't want to allow king to f6, so we need to keep an eye on the square with this knight, so we can't move it now. And second, we need some good response after white goes king to f7. Ideally, something that will control at least these two squares. So one of the ideas is to go knight to g5, control this square for the second time. Once the king moves to the side, we can follow up with the other knight and again lock the king even further. Let's say black goes king e8. We want to force the king to this corner. The way we're going to do it is control squares on the 7th rank with our king and control d8 and then e8 with our knights. So we'll start with king to e6. Black goes king to f8. We need to control e8 somehow. We could go knight to f7, but this will run into some trouble after king to g7, king e7, king h6. We can't go here because this is a stalemate. There are still some ways to win, but I'm going to show a different way. Here I'm going to go knight to d6, allowing the king temporarily to go back, but now I have knight to b5, controlling those two squares. And once the king goes to the corner, I'm going to follow with my king, and now black king has only one move. And after knight d6, the knight controls these two squares, the king controls the other three, leaving black with just 3 squares to move around. Let's say black goes king to h8. Now it's mate in 4, feel free to pause the video and try to find it. It's pretty similar to what we saw before. One of the ways to win is to go king to f7, king to h7, and now we want to get our knight to this square where it controls these two squares and we can mate with the other knight. So we can go, for example, knight to f5 check, king h8, knight g7 check, king h7, and knight e4 checkmate. If you want to try it out yourself, I left the link in the description. If you click it, you get a dialog box like this, where you can pick whatever time control you want. Whatever AI level, I recommend picking the highest, or you can try a random mover as a warm-up. Then select white, click it, and get a game. That's all I have for you today. If you made it this far, thank you very much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!